Speaking of individuals in that part of the world, you mentioned Xi Jinping. What's up with the coup rumors that were flying around this week? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Thank you for teeing me up there so perfectly. I'm going to get on my soapbox here, guys. I don't get up on my soapbox very often, but I'm getting up on my soapbox in part because I had at least 3 or 4 different people text me at odd hours of the night over this weekend. Y'all know who you are, and please continue to text me with these things. I'm not saying this to throw shade at you. I want you to send me things when they're on your mind, but asking me if there was a coup in China because Xi Jinping had disappeared from view, and there was some unsubstantiated report of Chinese armored personnel carriers rolling down the streets of Beijing. It was this whole thing. And if you actually sort of looked at what was going on, there was no evidence of anything that was happening. It might have been I don't know who was pushing that narrative, but there was no reason to think that there was anything happening in China that even resembled a coup. If there was a coup in China, either way, like you wouldn't get sort of this piecemeal, it wouldn't dribble out sort of piecemeal. Like a coup to be effective sort of has to happen fast, and you take over the information channels and you get a very sort of clear delineation of what's going to happen next, and none of that was happening. I would also just point out last year around this time, so ahead of a big policy meeting that everybody talked about in the China watching community, I believe it was Newsweek is the one that's emblazoned in my mind, but they weren't alone. But they were talking about how there was Xi Jinping had a brain hemorrhage and he wasn't going to be able to govern going forward. And the Chinese Communist Party was completely up in arms because they had to figure out who was going to replace Xi Jinping. That wasn't true either. Now we're going into this Chinese Party Congress here in a couple weeks. I think in general, like the reason Xi Jinping has been a little bit quiet is because he's dealing with a real estate crisis. He's going into this major meeting where he's basically, I'm expecting him to formalize or declare what everybody already knows, that he's going to be leader for as long as he wants to be. And I just, it's almost formulaic the way you get these rumors happening around this time every year in China right now. So if you are following an analyst or reading a newspaper or listening to a thought leader who said anything to you about a coup in China over the weekend, you should turn them off right now, because that person was lazy and didn't spend the 15 minutes it took me to understand that 98% chance there wasn't a coup going on in China, despite what some breathless person tweeted on Twitter. Was that good? That was a hot take. I don't know. I don't normally do that.
That was good. Getting a little steamed up here.